We begin our report exactly 1 week from Election Day, and already more than 51 million people have voted early in person and by mail. Polls show the race between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump is razor thin, and the candidates are taking every opportunity to turn out voters. On Tuesday, the vice president is set to deliver what the campaign is calling her closing argument speech at the Ellipse in Washington. This location is no coincidence. It's the same place where former President Donald Trump spoke on January 6, 2021, telling his supporters the 2020 election was stolen as Congress was working to certify the results. Ahead of tonight's remarks, Harris sat down for an interview with CBS News Philadelphia and spoke about the contrast she sees between herself and her opponent.
And we need a president of the United States who, moving forward, as we turn the page on the last decade, frankly, during the Trump era that has been about trying to divide Americans and have people point their fingers at each other, that we have a president who leads knowing that the vast majority of Americans have more in common than what separates us.
Meanwhile, the Republican nominee is holding his fair share of counter-programming Tuesday. That includes a rally in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and the crucial battleground state worth 19 electoral college votes. Earlier, Trump spoke at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach, Florida, where he criticized Harris on immigration and crime.
Very simply, Kamala Harris is not fit to be your president. Her message has been a message of hate and division, and my message is about saving our economy, securing our border, bringing together the greatest and broadest coalition in American history.
Let's bring in CBS News chief election and campaign correspondent Robert Costa. Bob, thanks for being with us this evening. Our Nancy Cordes spoke with a Harris campaign advisor ahead of tonight's speech. Let's listen.
Having the White House behind Kamala Harris tonight is an important moment for her to say one of us, either her or Donald Trump, is going to be sitting in that building and to talk about the stakes and what that's going to mean for the American people on the economy, on health care, and on leadership.
Bob, the decision to speak at the Ellipse will, of course, remind people of January 6th and attacks on democracy. Will that distract from some key issues like the economy and immigration?
Great to be with you. For Vice President Harris, this is a crucial moment in the campaign to define the stakes for voters in the final week of the election, and not distracting in any way from her focus on the economy and other issues when it comes to policy, but trying to make it about character, about high stakes for the country, its identity, its future. This will be a test of whether she can hit some of these bigger themes, a more fundamental message to reach out to those voters who might still be on the fence in places like the Philadelphia suburbs, the Atlanta suburbs, the suburbs of Milwaukee, where there might be a traditional Republican voter out there who has concerns about Trump. A reminder about January 6th, the Harris campaign hopes, at least, could tip them over the edge toward the Democrats.
Well, you asked Donald Trump Jr. on Sunday about the Harris speech at the Ellipse. Let's hear what he said.
They're still speaking about January 6th. I think that's a fundamental problem. I don't think I've spoken to a single American who even remotely cares. Those are desperate acts. Those are desperate measures.
They're publicly saying this. Are they also saying it privately to you, or does this subject worry them?
It does not worry the Trump campaign. Donald Trump Jr.'s message is indicative of a broader conclusion inside of Trump's inner circle. They believe that January 6th remains a motivator for motivated Democrats. It's something that gets out the Democratic base. And they believe that Vice President Harris's speech tonight is about making sure Democrats turn out, and that sense of alarm they felt about President Trump when he was in the White House in 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 is once again seared into their own collective memory.
We've also seen continued fallout from a comedian's offensive remark about Puerto Rico at Trump's rally in New York City that you were at. How is the Harris campaign trying to use this to their advantage?
They are shining a spotlight on the comments and dismissing the Trump campaign's attempt to create some distance between the candidate and the speaker on stage at Madison Square Garden. But for the Trump movement, this is always a challenge. They have embraced a lot of controversial voices over the past near decade, and some of them were on stage in the closing stretch of this campaign at Madison Square Garden. And Democrats believe if some low-propensity voters are watching all of this unfold on stage, that they could associate Trump with these speakers, even if Trump believes there's a nuance there and he's not directly linked to them in any way.
Is the Trump campaign worried about the backlash?
they're not worried, but they're certainly paying attention to it. I wouldn't say the campaign's worried, but some of my Republican sources on Capitol Hill are worried, who are in marginal districts that have Latino and especially Puerto Rican populations, people with roots in Puerto Rico. There's a belief that this isn't helpful. It's not going to exactly excite people to vote for Trump. But there's also a sense that many Latino voters like Trump. If they've come here legally, they might even like his message on immigration. I've seen that across the campaign trail in my reporting.
Robert Costa, thank you.
Thank you.